Struggling with fondant? Cracks, bubbles, dents, oh no. But don't worry, we've got you covered. From beginners to pros, here's the ultimate step-by-step guide to fixing every fondant frustration. Smooth and patch like a pro.
Welcome back to my channel. Okay, so today I'm making another beginner. The table on the mat, on the silicone mat, and then spread our fondant. What you want to do is spread your fondant wide enough to cover the whole of your cake. It doesn't have to cover like to the down to the bottom of your cake if your cake is really tall, but you want to spread it wide enough to be able to cover like double the perimeter of the top of your cake, like if that makes sense. Okay, so what you want to do is spread it out evenly. You don't want there to be bulges, you don't want one side to be higher than the other, and you don't want it to be too thick. You just want it to be around maybe 2 millimeters thick. And then this step is very important. Take a smoother and then smoothen it while it is still on your mat. That is very important because that way it helps you put everything even better together. So the next thing we're going to do is begin to lift our fondant very fast. This step has to be super fast because if you're not fast enough, your fondant is going to stretch. So you lift it very fast and then put it on top of your cake. And then the next thing you want to do is to smoothen the top of your cake as soon as possible before it dries up. And the reason you're doing this is because you want there to be no bubbles underneath your cake, because if there are bubbles, you would see it. So guys, this is how you prevent cracks and tears in your fondant. So the important thing for you to do at this stage is to start from the top. Make sure like you touch and smoothen the top of your cake round before you try to go to the bottom. Don't first go from top to bottom. All you have to do first is to go around the top of your cake. Make sure your fondant adheres to the very top of your cake before you try to smoothen other parts. This way, like you're reducing the chances of having folds and cracks, like maybe 90 times. Like, I don't know how to explain that. But the first thing you should do is smoothen the top. And then once the top of your cake is smooth, around the side of the top of your cake, and then you can start moving downward. And you should do it slowly. You don't have to do it too fast. And when you're smoothing, you should smooth from side to side. Like make sure you go the first perimeter, maybe 2 centimeters up, and then you move downward a little and go around again, and then move downward a little and go around again till you get to the bottom of your cake. If that makes sense. Look at what I'm doing. I started from the bottom and I went round and then went a little bit downward and went round again. I went a little bit downward and went around again. Oh God, I'm chewing my mouth. Basically, that is what you should do. And if that confuses you, I want you to watch this video like 3 4 times and try to do what I did. Like, you go around from the very top of your cake first. Doing that the first time kind of reduces your chances of having cracks. And then once you're done with the very top, you go again, you move downward again, then move downward again, and that's all you have to do. And then now that you've gotten to the bottom of your cake, all you have to do is to cut out the extra fondant around the perimeter of your cake, and then try to smoothen it as much as you can. And that's all. Like, you have your cake perfectly covered in fondant. If this kind of like confuses you, I want you to like turn up the volume of this thing and then watch it like 2 3 times and look at what I did with my hands, and that will make it way easier for you. And then all you have to do is smoothen, and then you're done. So if this video was useful to you, could you please give me a thumbs up, and could you please send it to someone you know that would like to learn cake decoration but can't really afford the prices cake decorators charge and everything. Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. Okay, so today, yeah, I get this question a lot about how to soften fondant. So, like, how do you soften your fondant? It seems like really easy because almost in all my fondant videos, I make how to soften fondant. Like, I don't say how to soften fondant, but like I soften the fondant in front of you people. So like, I wonder how, like, but okay. So today we're going to be learning how to soften fondant. So I'm going to show you guys 2 different textures. Yeah. So this is already made fondant that I bought. See how hard? Yeah. This is me trying to break pieces. See, and it's not like being stretchy or anything. It's just breaking like, you know, like you would break bread. See. It's not stretching or anything. So today I'm going to show you guys how to soften this fondant. But then let me show you guys this one. This is at room temperature without touching it. And this is my fondant that I made already. So this is my marshmallow fondant. It's a lot softer to work with because like I know the consistency I make, and I haven't kneaded it. By the time I knead it, it becomes a lot softer. And I don't need to knead it with any shortening or cocoa powder because like I'm already used to this consistency and I know how to get there, especially for the weather I live at. So if you want to see how to make this marshmallow fondant, you can, I'm going to put a link right up here so you can check it out and see how to do that yourself. But if you make a fondant that is already hard, or you bought fondant that is too hard, today I'm going to show you how to soften it, and not soften it too much. It's going to, you know, make your cake too sloppy, and at the same time soften it just enough perfectly for you to cover your cake. I'm blabbing too much. Oh yeah, this fondant is the color of my lipstick. See, I'm doing too much. Okay, so let's get started. Yeah. Okay, so guys, this is the fondant we are working with today, and then we're going to be kneading with some butter. You don't have to knead with butter if you have vegetable shortening, but the reason why I like to use, and this is some cornstarch, we're going to put that aside. The reason why I like to use butter is because butter has some water content in it that softens your fondant even more. But for shortening, it's just fat, you get. So if you use butter, it kind of changes the color of your fondant just slightly, just a little, because it's just a little bit you need. Okay, so what you want to do is you want to keep kneading. You don't want to put it in the microwave, guys. I used to make this mistake of taking my fondant and putting it in the microwave because that's an easy fix. But the more you knead it and like try to, we've not added anything. I'm just rubbing it in between my fingers and like, making the warmth of my fingers, make it warm. So the warmth of my fingers will increase the temperature of the fondant, which will make it a little bit more pliable. And then so now I'm adding some butter to my mat, and then I'm kneading. You want to knead to the consistency that is okay for you. The reason why I'm saying consistency okay for you is because we live in different parts of the world, and different parts of the world have different humidity, and your fondant will act differently if it's in a different part that has more or even less humidity. So you have to find what is best for you, and you can only do that by working with it over time. So don't be afraid to use fondant. Just know that the more you use it, the more you get used to it, and see how soft it is getting. Yeah, can you see how stretchy and nice? This is the stretch test. I like to stretch it and see how well it stretches, but I think I still want to knead it a little bit more, so I'm adding a little bit more butter and kneading it a little bit more. And I'm going to show you guys how to do the poke test. See how well it stretches here. This is where you're going. It takes, I think this took me like 10, what am I saying, like 2 minutes basically. It doesn't take time at all. Don't pop it in the microwave. Microwave is an easy fix, and it will ruin your fondant, it will ruin the texture, whether it's fondant that you made yourself or that you bought. So this is where you want to be at. See how stretchy and see how nice. Yeah, So now let me show you guys how to do the poke test. This is a stretch test. You want to stretch it and let it not cut. Yeah, that's how you know like you're at the consistency you want, and that whatever this thing you want. So now, like, what I'm trying to do is I'm going to show you guys how to do the poke test. All you have to do is mold it round and then dip your finger into it. If it goes in without resistance, then it is good to go. Another thing I like to do if I'm going to store it is to just put a little bit butter on the board, on the mat, and then just roll it inside. See, that's the poke test. See how nicely it went in. Yeah, just to poke into it and if you go. Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. So if you're a beginner and you're working with fondant for the first time, or for like maybe like you're not very experienced with fondant and you want to try it out, and you have problems with like your fondant being too sticky or too wet, yes, I'm making this video specifically for you if your fondant is too wet or too sticky. So first things first, I need you to know that whether you're buying an already made fondant or you're making it by yourself, you want to make sure like if you're making it by yourself, you have a really awesome recipe. And if you're buying it, you want to make sure you're buying a good quality fondant, so you know that your fondant is wet and sticky, not because it is not well like made, or maybe it doesn't have good composition. Like, you're working with good fondants basically. So today I'm going to be giving you a few reasons why your fondants might be wet and sticky, and how to fix the problem so you can have perfectly frosted cake every single time. Okay, so first things first is maybe your kitchen is too warm. Yeah, if your kitchen is too warm, like, it's going to make you even sweat. So when you work with a fondant, it's going to increase its stickiness. Plus, when your kitchen is too warm, there might be too much heat. Of course, it is wet, so it is going to make your fondant a lot sticky and wet. Another thing that can make your kitchen too warm is if you are baking while you're working with fondant. Of course, when you're baking, there is more heat in the kitchen because the oven generates heat. So you want to make sure you're working with fondant when you are not baking. And a way to fix that, if maybe you have to bake and work with fondant, is if you have an air conditioner, yeah, you can simply turn it on. And another thing is, some people have a thermostat in their houses that make their houses really warm. So you can turn that down a little to reduce the heat in your kitchen. Or better still, if you have a standing fan, just take it into your kitchen and turn it on. Like, the fixes are very simple basically. So take your standing fan into your kitchen and turn it on and open the window. So that kind of fixes the problem for you almost immediately. Okay, so if your kitchen is too warm, I hope that helps you. So number two is if there is too much humidity in the air. This is not your fault, basically. Like, it's not your fault the air is humid. You can't control that. And the only way to fix that is to get an air humidifier. You can buy that on eBay. You can buy that online basically, and they're very cheap. They're very portable, cheap ones. And if you'd like to buy one of those, I have a link in the description box below for you to buy a really nice one. And one thing I find personally is that if you don't have an air humidifier and your kitchen is so humid, maybe you live in a humid environment, you can try baking, you can try working with fondant at night. I find that when you work at night, the air is less humid at night. So if you have fondant work to do, it's best you do it at night if you live in a humid environment. Okay, so that's being done. Number three is maybe when you're coloring your fondant, you are using liquid food coloring. I've said it in like a dozen videos on this channel. When you're working with fondants, use gel food coloring, or better still, use powdered food coloring. The reason is because the liquid food coloring adds some quantity of water into your fondant, which kind of changes the consistency. So it makes it a little bit wetter. Is wetter a word? Yeah, it just makes it a little bit wetter and stickier than usual. So use gel food coloring. Okay, so the way to fix the problem is basically to use powdered food coloring or use gel food coloring. Never use liquid food coloring to color fondant. Of course, except you're using very little, of course. Okay, so the next thing I want to talk about is where you live. Yeah, climate matters a lot. So the kind of fondant you buy, or where you live, and like what the region is like. If you live in the tropics, of course the air is humid in the tropics. So when you're rolling out your fondant, I advise you to use cornstarch or potato starch. That's because that absorbs fluid and will make it a lot easier for you to work with. But if you live in the arid regions are like places like deserts and like places with very dry air and very low humidity. I advise you in places like that to use icing sugar, because the thing with icing sugar is sugar has water in it. Yes, I know that doesn't make sense, but think about it. If you put sugar on heat, it starts to melt and becomes liquid. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So sugar kind of, like, when you increase the temperature, it becomes liquidy, if that makes sense. So if you live in an arid region, when you're rolling out your fondant, you want to use icing sugar, because that kind of helps you increase the, how to explain it, the humidity in your fondant, and helps you get a better consistency. So if you live in a region that is not arid, it is not very humid like the tropics, just use a combination of icing sugar and cornstarch. So I hope this video really helps you. I hope this video is useful to you, and if you try out these tips, be sure to leave me a comment in the comment section below, and please give me a thumbs up underneath this video right now. I'd really appreciate it. So please guys, subscribe to this channel and turn on the bell notification for you to get notified every time I post something new. And could you please follow me on Instagram? I'm on Instagram as __ cake me away. There are 2 underscores before cake me away. Yes guys, so thank you so much, and I hope you enjoyed my video, because I absolutely enjoy making these videos for you guys. It's fun actually. Thank you guys so much, and I will see you in my future videos. Thank you. Have you ever covered a fondant cake and the bottom was not well covered as well as the top? Or you were covering a fondant cake and then the fondant was not enough, and like you have an old patch of cake to cover? Today I'm going to be showing you guys how I fix those problems, regardless of how like good you are at fondant making, yeah, or cake making, or how much you've made it, how long you've decorated cakes for. Sometimes you meet some of these things, and I'm going to show you how to fix it so it doesn't even look like you had that problem when your cake is done. So normally I don't really make tutorial videos anymore, because I find them quite tiring, yeah, because they're a lot of work actually, and I've made over 500 tutorial videos on this channel. But I get a lot of these questions, especially about fondant, so I'm just making this one for you guys, so you're welcome. So let's get watching, right? So at intervals I'm going to be showing you guys what I'm doing, yeah. To notice that at this point I just covered my cake in fondant, and I kind of realized that my fondant was too small. I kind of rolled a little bit too little, or whatever the case is, or maybe you had too little fondant. So at this point, it didn't wrap completely. So I'm going to shake it out, I'm going to fix it. So the first thing I want to do is to like make sure the parts that are well wrapped are smooth, right? And you want to smoothen that before it hardens. That's why before I do anything like cut out the parts that is not well wrapped and try to fix it, I'm going to smoothen first. Otherwise, by the time you're done like covering up all of the imperfections, it will be too late to smooth because some parts of your fondant would have set, and if you try too hard, it will have like board on the mat and then just roll it inside. See, that's the poke test. See how nicely it went in. Yeah. Make sure the parts that are well wrapped are smooth, right? And you want to smoothen that before it hardens. That's why before I do anything like cut out the parts that is not well wrapped and try to fix it, I'm going to smoothen first. Otherwise, by the time you're done like covering up all of the imperfections, it will be too late to smooth because some parts of your fondant would have set, and if you try too hard, it will have like elephant skin, and that's not what you want. Anyways, at this point, yeah, I'm just smoothing so it can be as smooth as possible, and then we're going to go ahead and fix the problem we have. So you want to take a sharp knife, yeah, or maybe something you use to cut. In my case, I use the disposable razors, and once I use them once or twice, I kind of throw them away and use another one. And they're very cheap, and they come in packs of 10. So you can buy those, or you can use a knife. You can use a kitchen knife if you have a sharp one, or if you have like a knife sharpener at home or anything. So basically, once you're just done smoothing your cake, you've done, most of the smoothing parts, the top, the sides. The reason why you want to do all of these things, like I said initially, is that you need to do that as soon as you cover the cake in front, because that's the best time to fix any imperfection on these sides that are well covered. So that when you're ready to do the side that is not well covered, by the time you're done, because that will take you a couple of minutes, your front wouldn't have set. Anyways, I was listening to Burna Boy at this time, yeah? Anyways, so at this point, you want to take your sharp knife or your sharp blade, whatever it is you're using, and you want to cut a straight line. You want to cut the parts of the fondant that is covered from the parts that is covered, and then leave the parts that is not. Let's say like have a straight line. Yes? So now this is what we have at this point. So we're going to take the same fondant again and then roll it and then fit it in that space. But before then, I'm going to take a brush and put some fluid on it, like maybe water or fondant glue, and wet it and then put it in that, like you rub it on the part of the front, on the white part that is covered. I'm really enjoying myself here, yeah, because I love to listen to Burna Boy. Anyway, so we just need to roll our fondant, yeah, make sure it's tall enough to cover that spot, and then we're going to roll it and fit it. So you guys should just watch while I do that. Once you've smoothened as much as possible, that's all. There you have it, and you won't be able to tell, but you have to make sure everywhere is smooth before you fix that part and you smoothen as much as possible. So this is the second part. This is the second part of the problem. So for this one, the problem with this case was the fact that I realized that like I didn't cover it well. Sometimes when you're lifting your fondant and you're trying to, for example, when you lift your fondant to put on your cake, you don't apply it well based on you can't see every side except you turn the turntable. And sometimes you can make mistakes trying to turn the turntable. So in this case, that was what happened. It was kind of lopsided, so some parts were not covered, like the top and the bottom. This part, you don't have to do patchwork like you did for the first method. This one, you can just use your smoother if it's not too wide a space and smoothing over it. If it's a very wide space, I have another video on this page. I think I posted about 4 years ago, where I showed you guys how to patch if you have patches on your fondant. How not to remove the fondant completely and how to just, basically just patch the patches you have. Does that make sense? Anyway, so now I'm about to pick up my fondant and then put on my cake, and you're going to see what I'm saying. It kind of became lopsided. Notice I was trying to make the fondant taller than I said I was not going to teach now. I'm kind of used to making tutorials where I'm teaching, so that's going to come just naturally. And I did not see it was lopsided. It was lopsided from the start because the fondant was not tall enough. Usually, when you want to measure the height of your fondant, you have to make sure it is taller than. Notice I was kind of panicking at this point. You have to make sure it's taller than your cake so that you can have ample space on top and beneath when you finish wrapping. And at this point, I was already panicking because I was trying to make it fit, but I did the best I could. Anyway, so at this point, I'm just going to cut the extra fondant and try to smoothen as much as possible. And let me explain what I did at this point, yeah? Look at the bottom is uncovered and look at the side is uncovered as well. So I'm just going to cut. I'm just going to use a smoother to move my fondant to that point without doing any patchwork. So now I'm taking 2 smoothness and I'm just going to cover all that point before I make my cake as smooth as possible and give it sharp edges. The same thing I did to the top, I'm going to do to the bottom. Take 2 smoothness and pull it down, pull it up, and cover the spaces you have. That way you don't have to, worry about like having patches and stuff. And you don't have to worry about removing the fondant and starting to do it all over. So cover up the spaces with 2 fondants. The same thing you did to the top, you're going to do to the bottom.